Incoming fighter. Mulira kunkin Tong hitwama akitiko tune Chiwi aita ka chong chicha Agi iko tune Chuna mulira Tong hitwama akitiko tune Potong hitwama ji akitiko tune Tong padokun Nonek Chiwi aita ka chong chicha Ki mulira kunkin Jiska dosoki Kopa bono nakachu Labora na winki smack toma Kuyami jusku chita nai Uchua penki Tong hitwama akitiko tune Potong hitwama ji akitiko tune Tong padokun Nonek Chiwi soki Kopa bono nakachu Labora na winki smack toma Kuyami jusku chita nai Tong hitwama akitiko tune Potong hitwama ji akitiko tune Padokun Noki mulira Tong hitwama akitiko tune Potong hitwama ji akitiko tune Tong padokun Nonek Chiwi aita jiska dosoki Kopa bono nakachu Labora na winki smack toma Kuyami jusku Chiwa aita kan kicha na Chupornipo Kun mulira snimo poi wanga Chua penki Yun Just cranky do pasnimo Chi ita kanki Chiwa aita kanki cha na Chupornipo Kun tong itwama ji Human act in ikatune Shon muli rato Ki muri raชีวิตไอตากาชองจิจาอากิอิงโกต้องฮิตวามาอากิอิงโกตุเนโอตองฮิจิสกาโดโซกิโคปาโปโนนาคาจูต้องฮิตวามาอากิอิงโกตุเนจิสกาโดโซกิโคปาโปโนนาคาจูต้องฮิตวามาอากิอิงโกตุเนโอตองฮิวามากิมุริราคุมคินชีวิตไอตากาชองจิจาอากิอิงโกตุเนชุนามุริราตอนนี้มามาจิกุนาต้องฮิตวามาอากิอิงโกตุเนโอตองฮิวามาจิอากิอิงโกตุต้องปาโนคุนโนจิมุริราคุชีวิตไอตากาชองจิจาอากิอิงโกตุเนชุนามุริราตอนนี้มามาจิกุนาต้องคีปาโนกุเนกอาบอชีวะไอตาคังคีชานาจุปอร์นิโบคุณมุริราสนิโมปอยวังกาตอนนี้มามาจียุมันชีวะไอตาคังคีชานาจุปอร์นิโบคุณมุริราสนิโมปอยวังกาตอนนี้มามาจียุมันชีวิตไอตากาชองจิจาอากิอิงโกตุเนชุนามุริราตอนนี้มามาจีชัวเป็นทียุนปฏิสาที่จูบจีคุกานาgaต้องฮิตวามาอากิอิโกตุเนโอต้องฮิวามาจิอากิอิโกตุต้องปาโนคุนโนเนกชีวิตไอตากาจิสกาโดโซกิโคปาโปโนนาคาจูลาโบรานาวินกิสมักโตมาคุยามิจูสกุต้องฮิตวามาอากิอิโกตุเนโอต้องฮิวามาจิอากิอิโกตุต้องปาโนคุนโนเนกชีวิตกาโดโซกิโคปาโปโนนาคาจูลาโบรานาวินกิสมักโตมาคุยามิจูสกุจิตาไนอุจูอาเป็นกิ Civiaita kachonchicha. Agi iko tune chuna murira. Tongi wama aki iko tune. Tongi wama ji aki iko tune. Tongpa no kun no nek. Jiskadosoki kopa bono nakachu. Labora na winki smack toma. Kuyami.
Incoming fighter!
Ki muli chiwi aita. Chiwa aita kang kicha na super nibo. Kun muli ras nimo poi wanga tangi. Topa na otobo kasa. Pampa ki muli ra kun kin. Shapka skronki to pats nimo. Chi ita kang ki chan na kilikon. Kinba muli ra. Chiwi aita ka chon chicha. Agi inko tune chuna muli ra. Shaskronki to pats nemo. Chi ita kanki chana kilikon. Kinba muli ra panaji. Chiwa aita kanki chana super nipo. Ki muli ra kunkin. Tong hit wama agi inko tune. Kakin chiwi aita. Ki muli ra. Chiwi aita.
Hey there, what can I want to thank you for helping me with Griff. You did everything you could for my brother, more than most people would have. I know it might look like it didn't make any difference in the end. Griff's in debt and on the run like usual. But at least I know we tried to help him. I know people can change no matter how bad they were, but I'm not holding my breath. None of us is perfect, but I've come to realize that Griff is a little less perfect than most. My brother is what he is, but I've learned to deal with that. I'll never forget that he looked after me when I was just a kid, but I don't feel like I owe him anything anymore. I've made my peace with Griff and what he means to me. If he ever shows up again, I'll deal with him. But I'm not going to dwell on my brother anymore. It's time to move forward. So, is there anything else you need? Okay. Hey there, what can I... It seems to me that if you don't really remember anything about being Revan, then it doesn't really matter anymore. You are who you are now, right? I don't see the Sith Lord standing here. I see a friend who's been with us through thick and thin. Remember, Malik's the one who tried to destroy Terrace. Big Z and I will stick by you. We owe you our lives. We won't desert you now.
Yeah, what do you want? We fought against the Republic forces for some time, over the course of many battles. At the start, they were not much of a threat to speak of. But once you had taken charge, things began to turn against us. The Republic fleets began to use more than just basic tactics. Feints, counterattacks, mass deceptions. You were a genius on the field. You are held in very high regard among my people. You abandoned worlds of their defenders so that others could be too fortified to strike. You made sacrifices in order to advance your goals. Such strategies had never been enough to best us before. In the end, you proved too much for us. The Sith had gone, retreated into their empire. They sealed themselves off from the rest of the galaxy. We thought it would be centuries before they'd come back. It's amazing that they could rebuild their fleet so fast. But at the time, it looked like the galaxy was in our grasp. I still remember that final battle in the skies above Malachor 5. The two fleets filling the space around it, outshining the stars. It was not your ships, or your men, or your vaunted fight for freedom that won this, the final battle of the war. It was by the actions of one person, you, that the Republic prevailed. Your strategies and tactics defeated the best we could send against you. Even Mandalore himself was taken aback by the ferocity of your attacks, the tenacity of your defenses, and the subtleties of your plans. You fought us to a standstill, and then began pushing back. We really didn't have a chance. It was what we had wanted all along, in a way. We wanted to fight the best, in a battle that would be remembered for centuries. And we did, and you won. I hold no grudge against you, nor do any of my people. It was the greatest of honors to fight against you, even in defeat. It is even more of an honor to fight beside you now. Had you been born of the Mandalorian clans, surely nothing in this galaxy would have been able to stop us. But wishing for the past to be different is useless. Better look to the future, as we should now. We'll talk more later, I think. Is there something else you... Your choice.
How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? Well, I mentioned before that my parents had fled to Taris. Perhaps I could tell you about that. In the early days of the Mandalorian War, there had been fighting closer to the Outer Rim worlds. KOTOR was there, yes. My people had a great reputation as warriors, and that appealed to the Mandalore version of honor. They sought to test themselves against us, I think. Test themselves by bombing our world, slaughtering my people while they slept or while they ran. They swooped down from space across the world, firing at anything that moved. They used ships in space to destroy all orbital facilities and bombard the surface. We did resist, and in spite of their violent attack, we did stave them off for quite a while. But in the end, we were doomed. We were not members of the Republic. KOTOR was beyond the edge of the Republic, in the Outer Rim. And besides, they could not have known. Our interstellar communications were the first things the Mandalores hit. All other short-range communicators were jammed. We were on our own. We knew what was coming. We had fought the Mandalorians in the first war against Exar Kun and the Sith. We knew there would be no mercy for us. The most we could do was pack the few of our people who survived onto what few ships remained and send them off into space as fast as they could. Most did not make it. My parents carried me as a baby with them and were lucky enough to escape. They fled as far as they were able and eventually settled on Taris. They could stand running no further, I think. But Taris was a horrible choice. Dominated by humans, intolerant of other species, it made everyday life unnecessarily hard. My father turned to stimulants. He spent much of his time in local bars and dives. But we are warriors. It runs through our blood. And when he was on stims, he became foolish. He let his warrior nature get the best of him. So he would get intoxicated, and he would fight. And finally, one day, he would die. I don't need your sarcasm or your pity. He died at the hands of another, killed by a man who provoked him into a fight and killed him like an animal. I am sorry. I cannot talk about this any longer right now. How may I be of assistance? What is it you would... After my father died, my mother was left to support me alone. A single non-human woman, living in one of the worst, most violent slums on Taris. It was not easy for her. When my father was killed, it seemed that something in her began to die as well. She worked as hard as she was able. But over time, she began to waste away. I later learned that she was unable to get enough money to feed both of us, and had to start borrowing from the exchange, a band of cutthroats and smugglers. But even that was not enough. She hid what she was doing from me. She gave most of her food to me so that I would be strong, but she herself was suffering deeply from it. In the end, she could go on no longer, and collapsed at the cantina where she worked one day. She never recovered. There was nothing really that I could do for her. She left me no money, and no doctor would see her without being paid first. I sat by her bed for days as she lay there dying. I never want that to happen to someone I care about ever again. But there was us steal the money she had borrowed. She had never paid it back and made no provisions for her death. You must understand. The exchange is brutal. They care nothing for the life of a sentient being. They are the major suppliers of slaves out in Paris. They thought it would be appropriate that, with my mother owing them money, the debt should be passed on to me. And with no way to pay, they took me by force. You have no idea what this is like to be bound like a beast and treated as such. It was the worst time of my life. They treated me like livestock. They were waiting for a buyer to give them some credit for me when the Jedi came to fight the Mandalorians. The Jedi could not abide by what they saw there, and drove the exchange from the face of the world, freeing those of us imprisoned there. But the Jedi soon left to fight their war, and I was left with a dream. I swore that I would become a Jedi. As soon as I had enough money to do it, I bought passage on a freighter headed for Dantooine, and we both know what has happened since then. I am grateful to you for having given me the opportunity to fulfill my dream, rather than become what I hated. Someday, I may make it up to you, but for now, let us keep on the task at hand.
Yes, what's on your mind? If you're ready to talk, then yes, so am I. I can't hate you. I tried. I wanted to hold you responsible for all the things you've done for my wife, for Telos, for Dustle. But I can't. I got the revenge I always wanted when Saul died, but it hasn't brought me the peace that I thought it would. Despite whatever part of Revan is inside you, the darkness that must surely be there, it isn't who you are. That's why I can't hate you, why I don't want any more revenge. You don't have to be Revan. You can be so much more. Whatever the Jedi did to you, they gave you that chance. Whatever's happened up until this point, there's going to come a time very soon where you're going to have to make a choice, and there won't be any turning back. Well, then I hope I can save you from yourself. Yes, what's on your mind? You got it.